Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to R Squared Technology. I'm your host Ryan, and let's get ready to SolidWorks. Happy Friday, everyone. I hope you made it through the week okay. Thank God it's Friday, TGIF. As always, we will be continuing from the book, The Beginner's Guide to SolidWorks 2022, Level 1. Link in the description below where you can pick up a copy to follow along. And today we're again in Chapter 3, page 295, where we are going to be doing a loft type model called a bottle. So with that, we'll jump to page 295, section 13.1. Alright, section 13.1 on page 295. We're going to start out by creating a bunch of auxiliary planes or additional reference planes. So we'll come over here into our Features tab. We're going to choose the top plane for this, and we'll leave it in this isometric view for now. Then we'll come over here, create a plane, and our offset is going to be 2.5. And then we'll click OK, and then we're going to notice over here after I've created plane 1, it's going to be selected in the feature tree. We can literally go from here, select another plane, and these are all evenly spaced at 2.5, so since I entered that the first time, I do not have to re-enter. I can click OK. Again, plane number 2 is now selected, so we can just select this plane, 2.5 as well, and click OK. And we'll hit Control S, again, save your part at the beginning. They do it at the end. I'm just going to say, in every video, or almost every video, save in the beginning and save often. Control S, your favorite hotkey. So now, from here, we'll move on to section 13.2 at the bottom of page 295. So, in section 13.2, they just want to talk about being able to clarify the view a little bit more. So what they want you to do here is in the feature tree, you'll see the top plane here is not visible, but the other three are. Well, we need to use the top plane for one of the sketches. So, again, for better clarity, it's not necessary, but just for this introduction, having planes visible may aid you and help you better understand what's going on, especially since there's so many planes. So with that, you can right-click on the top plane and then choose Show. That way it's visible, and you'll be able to, again, better reference what's going on. So with that, we will now move on to section 13.3 on the top of page 296. Alright, section 13.3 at the top of page 296, we're going to start our first sketch. So, to do this, you can either click on the top plane, or in the graphics view, you can hit the space bar and bring the top view normal to. I personally like selecting the item I want to bring normal to whenever possible. Item being a plane, a sketch, a face, feature, so on and so forth. And the hotkey to bring this normal to, Control A. Now, we've got all the planes stacked on top of each other. So right now, you could argue it looks like we're going to be drawing on top of plane 3, 2, 1, and top plane, but we are not. And how do I know? Because over here in the left in the feature tree, the top plane is selected. Now, if you want to, which it's kind of interesting the book doesn't have you do this, you could press and hold the Control key and select all these planes, right-click, and make them invisible. Now, the top plane was selected when I had that selection going on, so everything went invisible. So I'm going to just make the top plane visible for now. And then I'm going to go to my Sketch tab, and I'm just going to choose the center rectangle right out the gate. I want the center point of the rectangle to be coincident to the origin. Click it, drag out, and we'll select OK. And then we're going to do some fillets in the sketch with a radius of 1/2 inch, so 0.5. And entities to fillet, we're going to grab the corners like such. Click OK. And then we're going to choose the smart dimension up here. Our width is going to be 2 inches, and our length and or width they're kind of interchangeable in this two-dimensional case, is going to be 3.5. Now our sketch is fully defined, all relations there. We can click OK. We can exit the sketch in this case, hit Control S, and then we're going to bring plane 1 into view over here in the feature tree. Again, I'm right-clicking to make a plane visible or not. And then from there, we are going to move on to section 13.4. Alright, section 13.4, we're still in the top-down view, but this time we're going to sketch on plane 1 here. So I've hidden all except plane 1, so I have two options. In the graphics view, I could select plane 1, or to be sure, in the feature tree over here on the left, I can select plane 1. We'll want to go to the Sketch tab, and we're going to do another center rectangle. The dimensions are going to be slightly different. However, the center point is still the same on the origin. So coincident that, click, drag out. And this corner that's my number 2 pencil is connected to, make sure it is coincident, this diagonal reference line here, like such. Now, things are a little different here. First, the fillet is still the same, so the sketch fillet should be 0.5 inches, and our selection is all 4 corners again. So we'll do that. Click OK. And then from there, we're going to add a width of 2.5 versus 3.5. Now we're fully defined. Click OK, exit the sketch, Control S, and now we will move on to the top of page 297, section 13.5, which is also going to be in the middle of that page. Alright, section 13.5 in the middle of page 297, we're going to make our next sketch on plane 2. So again, what I can do here is right click, hide plane 1, and make plane 2 visible. Make sure it's selected, feature tree. And then we're going to come to our sketch tab, and we will enter a sketch on plane 2. And then what we're going to do is we're going to save some time. So the first sketch is the same for this one dimensionally. So rather than doing it all over again and adding the dimensions and such, we're going to use our favorite friend, convert entities here. So there's two ways about going at this. Is we could either pre-select sketch 1 and then choose convert entities, or if we don't have anything selected, you could choose convert entities, and then from the flyout arrow in the graphics view, you can then select sketch 1 and click OK, and it is now brought into this sketch plane. And that will take us to the middle of page 298, section 13.6. Alright, so we'll of course close out of our third sketch here. And then we can come over here, right click on plane 2, hide it, and then we'll move on to section 13.6 at the middle of page 298, where we're going to create a circle sketch here. So let's select plane 3 for this. We'll show it just so we have that, and then we'll go to our sketch tab. Then we're going to choose the circle, choose the origin, and just simply drag up, and we'll want to make sure that it is horizontal and tangent relation or coincident relation to this line here. Click OK. Now just to check, so it's still underdefined, which is OK, because we will then simply click on the circle, press the control key, select that midpoint, if it will allow me. Let me drag this smaller. This plus the midpoint, and we can make that coincident, and that will fully define that sketch. From here, we can now exit the sketch. Of course, hit Control S, and we're going to hide plane 3 again, and then we're going to move on to page 299, section 13.7. And you can also, just as a quick note, we could quickly press and hold Shift, grab all three planes, press and hold the control key to grab the top plane, bring them all visible, and then click in the graphics area, press the space bar and bring it back isometric so you can see the view that they have at the top of page 299. Alright, section 13.7, here we go. Learning the new feature Loft. This is where we're going to bring all this awesome sketch geometry together. So come over here into the Features tab and choose Lofted Boss Base. And what we're going to make sure of, there's something to keep in mind when making selections for lofts. There are going to be green points that appear as you make selections on different parts of the sketch. So in other words, the first, we're going to work from the bottom sketch, the first one we made, to the top one. Now granted, selections may vary, but we're going to be as close as we can to the relative side of sketch. So in other words, first sketch here, I'm going to choose this point here, and then I'm going to move up to the next sketch and choose this point here. Now notice these two green circles that appeared. Pay attention to this, because what happens is if we start selecting different areas of the sketch as we go up, then it can create some undesired effects. So for example, let's say I grab here. Notice how the three green points no longer line up, and so while it's working at the particular moment for this, if I go to the next one, it could create a twist result. So this one here, I'm going to come over here into the properties and delete sketch 3 real quick out of selection, and then I'm going to click this point here, which is closest to that, and then we'll finally click the circle up here. Now there's some options that we need to choose here in the properties. So we're going to want to go from page 299 over to page 300. So over here we've got sketch 1 through 4 selected, and then we have start end constraints. So there's a start constraint default, but we want to do a normal to profile, and then we want to make sure that the 1 is applied, and then for our second we want to do a normal to profile for the end constraint, making sure 1 is selected there. And then another thing you can do is down here in the curvature display, you can choose to show a mesh preview, or you can show a zebra stripe preview as well to give you a better idea of what's going on. So we'll just double check all our properties up here. We got sketch 1 through 4 selected, 0 degree, normal to profile start constraint, end constraint is normal to profile, and then we are going to make sure 0 degrees, 1, apply to all is selected, and then from there we can click OK. And just like that, we now have the shape of a bottle, which will then take us to the top of page 301, section 13.8. Alright, before we move on to section 13.8, we're just going to do one quick thing, which is we'll press and hold the control key, select the top plane, plane 1, 2, and 3 in the feature tree, and hide them. We no longer need those at this point. Hit Control S, and now section 13.8, we're going to do a radius on the bottom here. So we'll make sure we're in the Features tab still. We'll come over here, we're going to choose a fillet, and we're going to choose a radius of 1/4 inch, 0.25, and we are going to grab this bottom face because we're doing the radius all the way around. Select OK, then we'll spacebar, bring it back isometric, Control S, and now we're on to section 13.9 at the middle of page 301. Alright, section 13.9 at the middle of page 301. We're going to do two features here. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to select this circular face here. We're going to choose Sketch, and then we're going to come up here and choose Sketch, and then we are going to do the same thing we did for this third sketch here, which is we're going to convert the entity, which gives us the same circular diameter here. without having to sketch or draw dimensions. And then from here we can literally go to the Features tab, choose Extruded Boss Base, and that is going to be an extrusion height of 0.75. Click OK. Click in the graphics area, hit Control S, and we're going to do another feature stacked right next to that, which is we're going to come up here in the Features tab and we're going to choose Shell Feature. And we're going to leave that at the default of 1/8 of an inch, and we'll simply select this top face here, click OK, and that's shelled out this entire bottle. So that's going to take us from page 301 over to page 302, section 13.10. Alright, section 13.10 or 13.10, which is the entire page of 302 with the image of the bottle. We're simply going to add the material to it. So over here in our feature tree under material, right click, and we're going to choose PBT General Purpose. Hit Control S, and from here we're going to move on to page 303. Yeah, my area code represent. Section 13.11. All right. The part is complete, but section 13.11 at the top of page 303 and all the way through it, they want to demonstrate how you can view what has happened specifically with this shell feature here, because offhand it's kind of hard to tell what's going on. So they want you to look into the section view. So we can see here that the section view does in fact show that this bottle has been hollowed or shelled out per the dimensional thickness we created. Another thing they want to highlight is the fact that you can of course change the way the section view is from a either front, top plane, right plane, and newer are axis plane choices as well. But even within each sectional view type, whether it's front, top, right, axis is a little different, and we're not going to cover that in this particular section. But you can take this arrow here and drag back and forth to change what part is actually in fact section, and it's customized. Now note something in the feature, the properties over here, when I drag this arrow you're going to see this distance either increase or decrease, so you can make precise, you can just drag roughly if you want to see what's going on, but if you need to section at a precise point in your part, come over into the properties and under the dimensions choose exactly where it's sectioning. And what this is going to be useful for is if you come up here into the, let's say we leave it in a sectional view for a moment, click OK. We come up to the Evaluate tab, and then we use our awesome little tape measure, and we want to measure something. Now what I'm doing right now is I'm pressing and holding the center scroll wheel to rotate the part, and you may be able to measure certain geometry depending on what it is. Now there's no real specific points on this. This is a curve and could be considered a spline, so it may not give you a measurement you're looking for. However, let's say we grab this point here and this point here, you can get a rough idea. There's the thickness of 0.125. That verifies the shell thickness, at least at that point, which everything should follow that because the shell was made off of the entire part. So with that, we'll bring it back to regular view, spacebar, bring it isometric, Control S, and that is it. I hope you learned something from this. Thank you for watching. Happy Friday again, and I will see you next Friday, where we will go over the next feature, which is going to be the wrap feature, which will start on page 305. Until then, take care, and I'll see you next time.